she contributed so much in terms of finding those avenues that we all have within, by saying that mystical states are not for mystics only. We all have the capacity to enter into that, and that it's a normal, natural part of us. We don't need outside agents. Plant medicines work, but so does the physiology. Through ritual, find it easy to access what she called an altered state, an alternate reality, and that we are tapping into the eternal now, which is part of that living, conscious universe where our ancestors live, where the animal spirits live, where probably we live between incarnations here. I don't know. So her great gifts to us were, and I interviewed her in radio saying, how do I contact my indigenous ancestors? Where are they? As Westerners, we've been chopped off at the knees for accessing what our true deep history was. Where is it? And she said, look at the artifacts of the earliest artists left us. You can go back 40,000 years and find artifacts, and you can find depictions of postures. That was a clue that she read as ritual instructions. So her great gift to us was to say, we have the same physiology that they did. We can also enter into these states normally, naturally, and easily. The universe is calling to us. It's redundant because there's so many opportunities to enter into altered states. The fact that we do so spontaneously and have mystical experiences. If you've ever had a deep daydream, you are entering into these kinds of states. And our ancestors just knew there was a ritual, there was an ability to focus. She took the well-known ritual, setting aside a sacred space, smudging, preparing yourself, calling the spirits, an essential step to that, and using sonic driving, well-known around the world. To this, she added, let's sit or stand in these postures as depicted in so many artifacts the world over, going back through time.
She said something in one of her books that I thought was really interesting, and I think it's one of the things that kind of drove me to this work. I still don't recall exactly how I found it. We've talked about that often, but it's all a blur somehow. But she mentions in one of her books about ecstasy itself, or the ecstatic state, and how she felt that this is something that human beings are really, that we need.
And we've been deprived.
Yeah. And how she felt that possibly things like addictions, like alcoholism and these things, were because people no longer are searching for that other state of consciousness, and instead of possibly doing it in a healthy way, they're using something to medicate themselves. And I think that's really, when you think about that, yes, we need that. We need that joy. We need that ecstasy. And there have to be ways, healthy ways, to actually go into that state. So I thought that was a really interesting point that she made. That really impressed me when I read that in her book.
The poor substitutes aren't the real thing, that right. You can go there direct.
I think she really made a fantastic contribution to the idea that the full spectrum of the human experience is available to us, and that if we're not having one foot in the alternate reality, we're missing out on the full value of what it is to be human. That if you look at our ancestral history, there's always been a relationship between the alternate and the everyday reality, that the ancestors knew and had rituals to connect themselves, to understand their relationship to all of life that surrounded them. The plants, the trees, the animals, the sky, the stars, everything had a relationship. And they took that as an internal process to better themselves as how they survived.
We sometimes think that maybe our early ancestors were naturally in this state of two minds, a foot in this world, a foot in that world. And that we've just lost our way through time, not only the techniques, but naturally being there. And that these rituals were a way to reopen that door
And if you look at indigenous societies today that still hold on to the traditions of the past, they bring forth that same sort of knowledge still, that idea that we can have a foot in both worlds, that we need to have a respect for this alternate reality, and that it's something that is alive and well and just as real as this reality.
I'm intrigued by the lessons that it delivers, because it seems to say there is so much more to this ordinary reality that we're living in than we seem to think. If we could take our blinders off, we would see a far more interesting and alive and joyous and magnificent universe than this idea of the cold, dead machine running out of energy.